Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This is Optibotimus coming at you with another video review. And today we're going to be taking a look at the new Transformers Titans Return Deluxe Class Therontsc and Hardhead. Hardhead here was one of the original Headmaster characters, but Therontsc was originally named Duros, and for whatever reason they changed his name. Probably with copyrights or something like that. But for the package, you've got a really nice clamshell here. You got some cool art in the back of Hardhead. You got the Transformers text with the Generation logo there. On the back of the package, you got the cross cell that shows that all these heads can be interchanged with the different bodies and classes of figures. So you got a Deluxe Class Therontsc here. He can actually go on a Voyager Class Sentinel Prime or even a Leader Class Blaster, which is really very cool. And then for a little bio, it says the Autobots unite with Titemaster partners to power up for battle. Therontsc gives Hardhead a regenerative healing power that instantly repairs armor and system damage. That's kind of cool. And then you can see that he does have a very similar look to his G1 self in terms of the robot mode and then his tank mode, which really is great. I love that they're kind of keeping that same element. It's such a great homage to those original figures. But for the packaging on it, that's about it for him. So without further ado, let's get this guy out here and see how cool he actually is. And like with all the deluxe figures, he does come with this collector card. As you can see, you got the Titans Return text here on the side, and then you got a really cool image of Hardhead kind of standing in front of what kind of looks like Cybertron there in the background. You got his name right down there, and then on the back of the card, you got the tech specs for Hardhead as well as Therontsc, and how when you put Therontsc on Hardhead, it boosts his strength, speed, intelligence, and fire blast. Again, really nice idea that they're giving this to us again with some actual, functionality. Gives you a reason to collect it, I guess. But for the figure, here you have him. And again, I'm really very happy with how this guy turned out. He just, something about him really does just, I don't know, scream updated kind of G1 toy. And I dig it. I mean, you got some really nice panel details, especially here in the treads and stuff. You can see some really nice molded detail. I mean, these treads look like they're heavy duty. Like they're designed to kind of go through just about anything. He is in this kind of H-tank sort of design like that G1 toy was. Got a couple Autobot logos here, which will be obviously his shoulders. But just, I mean, overall, really solid looking tank. Now, for a comparison, here he is. And here's this G1 self, and again, H-Tank, that's what they're basically going for here. I really like how it is. I mean, you got those Autobot logos like I talked about, which nicely recreates how they were on the original G1 toy. You got a Autobot logo right down here at the bottom section, which is kind of a nice throwback to what you had here with the rub sign. And then also what's kind of cool is, moving that off to the side, you got this little black spot right here, which also kind of takes that visual cue from the original G1 toy. I really dig it. I love how his chest, while the chests aren't functional in these new Titans Return figures in terms of showing like tech specs, I like how they still kind of recreated that. And that's true with a lot of these deluxe figures that were originally the Headmasters. I think that's really very cool. One aspect that I'm a little disappointed in, I suppose, is where this gun kind of pegs in. I kind of wish that there was a way that they could have did something. I mean, I guess you could see what they were going for here. I mean, you got the gun that would peg in on the side here, and then you have one that would peg on the top of the canopy section. I guess you really couldn't have done that with this guy because there's nowhere to put it here along the side or anything like that. But and I kind of wish that there was a place where you could put it, where it would be like on the side or something like that. You can't really, you can't really wedge it in that section. But you do have that, and it does make sense in some ways because it also has some functionality with the giant cannon. But getting this kind of put back together and taking out Duros, what you have, you still have that same kind of cockpit thing here, but obviously Therontsc is much smaller than Duros was, so getting them here, but honestly though, they still look very similar. You got that green color going on, you come around here to the face. One thing that is very prominent here is the look that they went for, which nicely does replicate that G1 sort of toy look, not necessarily the cartoon. So it does make me wonder if the Takara version will be changed a little bit with their release to give it a more cartoon accurate look for their their particular series. I mean, this is how it's kind of remembered, I guess. I mean, a lot of people had the toy and everything, so it makes sense. But you can see, so you got some nice blue paint there for the eyes, whereas the original one didn't. So they did a really nice job of recreating that original look. But you can see just how big, you know, the old one was. So setting him back in there. Again, now one thing that's cool with this is I was talking about the cannon thing up here, getting this out of the way. You can open this actually, and you can then put that there and have like another kind of gun, I suppose. So take that there. I mean, it doesn't, you can do that with any of these little Titan Master figures. So you can take him, you can put him right there, and you can have him kind of as a little gunner man on there, and then you can take Nightbeat or something, and then you can take him and you can put him in there as well. So I mean, you can use that with all these figures. I mean, that crossplay pattern, you know, still works amongst, you know, any classes of the figures. And in general, I really do like how this turned out. Now, size-wise, here's another Deluxe figure. This is the Deluxe class Sunstreaker. As you can see, size-wise, they're roughly the same. Obviously, Hardhead gets a little bit, squeeze that together, gets a little bit thicker or wider, I should say, because he's a tank. But scale-wise, they're still pretty close to each other, so I do appreciate that. But the overall look on this guy really is very solid and very nicely done. Getting this kind of out of the way for right now. Come on here to the bottom, you can see that he's got one solid little rolly bit right here, and then you've got some wheels right here, so he can roll fairly nicely. Obviously, he scrapes a little bit on my plastic table here, but taking Therontsc, we're going to just rotate that around for the transformation, and I want to say that that's weird. Okay, don't do that too much. But setting that off to the side. Now, for the transformation, it is a lot like that original G1 toy. I'm really happy with that. First, we're going to just detach these arms off to the side. They peg in here along the side, and then you hinge them up right here at the shoulders. Take these legs, well, take this, fold that up just like that. Take these legs, angle these down. Get this, well, here, let's get that detached from the side, and then squeeze those legs in there. Do that on this side, rotate that down, separate that section, and then you take this entire back piece, you rotate this around, that will lock into place. Fold out his little fetums right here, just like that. Then take this entire section, you rotate this down, and then you got a little tab section here that comes down. I'll keep that there, and then you bring that in, and then you got a little slot area right here in his butt that little tab goes into. Locks that into place. You can rotate these arms down. Now, the instructions have you extending this all the way out, and then you got the fists that rotate out here. So do that on this side as well. But what it ends up doing, and this does look kind of strange, and I'm going to just take this cannon and you fold this up and you put it right there on his shoulder. But what it ends up doing is giving him very, very long arms. I mean, you can see them some long arms. You want to talk gorilla arms, this guy definitely has them. But what you can do to kind of actually mitigate that is kind of keep this angled up a little bit more. Don't extend that fully. You can still basically get, you know, the full range of motion that you're going to want with it, but that actually keeps it a little bit less gorilla arm-ish, I guess, but it still doesn't completely fix the problem, but it makes it look a little bit more manageable. And then you just take his head and then you pop that in there just like so, and there you have Hardhead in his robot mode combined with Therontsc. The result is another outstanding representation of a classic character. What they did with Hardhead here really is very, very impressive. They took a classic sort of look for it, and in kind of keeping it still looking that way, updated it with, you know, a more modern kind of take on it. I mean, the detail on here really does help kind of pull it into a modern sort of look. I'm really, really quite happy with it. Now, for comparisons, let's get it out of the way right up front. And here you have him next to his G1 self. And again, you can see that the, you know, cues that they took from that G1 figure and just character in general really translate nicely to this updated look. Like I said, you have this chest piece here that bringing this down. Obviously, this was kind of the gimmick that we had in the original, you know, when you would plug the head in. So you'd go like that, and boom, you'd plug the head. And you could always do that with the different ones. I mean, like, here's Fort Max's, so you could put his head in there, and you could do the same exact kind of thing. So that mix and match, and that gets in there really tight, that mix and match play value that the original toys had really does carry through nicely again with this new Titans Return stuff. So I love it. I think it's great. Now again, they are lacking that little chest piece, but I mean, hey, you get the tech specs on the actual cards now, so I guess that's something. But I do still like how they have the chest section done up like the original, so you kind of still have that same aesthetic and such. But I mean, you can see it. I mean, you got these like nice molded in sections here, very similar to what you have here for his chest. You got the coloring down here in his waist. You got the yellow, the red. That's all there. The arms with the green hands. There as well. You got the black section here with the treads on there. You got the Autobot logos there. Again, you got that little Autobot logo down here, which kind of resembles what you had with that rub symbol. But then you also got this black cavity area that also kind of takes that cue from there. And then you have the treads down here for the legs. I mean, a lot of these design kind of elements that the original had are nicely transferred here to this guy. Now, obviously, there is a big size difference. When compared to a modern toys here, you can actually see that Hardhead is actually a little bit bigger. So it does stay fairly consistent, in terms of the sizes of what we're getting with modern toys. And you're dropping them. Yeah, I'm drunk. Again, you got that play pattern here where you can, take any of the Headmaster figures, or I keep calling them Headmasters. I apologize. They are called Titan Masters, but you can peg that in there. He's going to have his head rotated to fit in there, so you can take Nightbeat here and you can peg him in there. So if you wanted to do something like that, you definitely could. And it was something that they did a lot of in the Japanese series. They would combine and they would swap out heads that to combat different bad guys and things like that. So it's fun. I do like it. Now first, articulation. The head will rotate. It is on a bit of a ball joint because the little head is actually on a ball joint. So getting that in there, you can see that you get a little pivot. You can move it a little bit up and down. It rotates very nicely. Pretty secure in there. I mean, you can see it is a little bit loose. All these deluxe figures, the heads are a little bit loose, and that is a definite downfall on it, but I don't think it's overly terrible. I mean, I would like to see them a little bit tighter, but it's not, a deal breaker for me. This cannon here can hinge up and down. It can also rotate. I mean, it just pegs in there, so if you wanted to, you can use this as one of his guns as well, but that looks a little bit weird. I mean, you got to keep the cannon on his shoulder, right? I mean, that's just the way that it is. Real nice molded detail on here, and again, you can open this up, you can put one of the Titan Master figures in there, or you got these little holes here on the back that you can actually, if I can get it lined up, you can actually peg the feet of one on there as well, so you can have them actually standing on there, which it just looks weird. I mean, it looks much better if you just have them sitting there. But I mean, if you wanted to, you can take this, you hinge that down or something like that. I mean, you can put this on the different cities and stuff, so you can have something like that and have a lookout or something like that. But so you do have that on a bit of a rotation bit. You got a hinge right here for his shoulders, and then the main section here is actually on a ball joint, so you get a nice range of motion with that, and you can move them out like so. The elbows, like I said, if you have them kind of all the way down, you got basically a double elbow. It also swivels at the upper part of the bicep, so it just kind of depends on where you want to put it. If you leave that one joint bent, you basically just get a 90-degree motion, but I think it looks a little bit better than having it fully extended. I mean, by comparison, getting the gun kind of out of the way, you can see keeping it kind of up like I do compared to how it's actually supposed to look. You can see a big difference in terms of the arms. I mean, this just kind of hangs down a lot. So bringing that up, it just helps fix that sort of gorilla-esque sort of look to it. He does rotate at the wrists themselves. Nothing at the waist, unfortunately, because it's all kind of molded in this one piece and part of the transformation. The hips here are on ball joints, so you get a nice range of motion with those. You also rotate here at the upper part of the thigh, bends at the knee, and then I guess you could say the foot can flex, so he can do some like karate poses, something like that. That's really about it. But the look on this guy really is very, very nice. It's one that I was absolutely thrilled to see when we first started getting them, and I love that they are going with, you know, some of those classic Headmaster characters that we knew in the original, you know, North America series as well as the Japanese series. It's really very fun that they're kind of covering all bases on this. But Hardhead here, I absolutely love. I think that he just turned out great. He looks, you know, how I would want him to look. Everything on him, to me, just a win. Now to transform him back, we're going to take the gun, get that out of the way, take the fists, rotate those up and around, go ahead, take his head off, bring this section back, and then you want to detach this up and kind of flex this all the way out just like so. Kind of get that out of the way. The little section down here, this can be a little bit tricky to get your fingers in there, but if you have fingernails, always easier, but just pull it out like so. Take the feet, rotate those around, bring these arms down. You want to angle them here at that little shoulder joint, and then you want to get that collapse all the way in, and then you got a little kind of octagonal shaped hole right there that you just bring this in and you push that in on the side. So do that on the opposite arm as well. Push that in, and then you take this section, detach this, rotate this back, straighten out these legs, bring this up, and then you got these little sections right here that tab on the inside of his thigh. So just bring that in. Oh well, first I guess it doesn't really matter. You can take these, rotate these out, those will lock in there, and then bring this in and tab it in along the side just like that. Do that on this side as well. Bring this up, lock that in, push that in along the side, then take this section, fold this down, rotate it around, kind of position the cannon how you want to. Take this guy, you can plug that right in there, set him there. You can then take Furos, rotate him around, set him there, and there you have him transform back in their vehicle and obviously his little dude mode. Like I said, I think that these guys really turned out very nicely. As part of the original Headmaster series, I think that a lot of people are going to kind of gravitate towards him and characters that initially were always Headmasters. I think that's typically where people are going to be a little bit happier, you know, when it comes to these guys. And again, you got those little pegs that all those other little figures had, so you can have them like stand on there and everything. But generally speaking, I think that these are the ones that people are going to be probably the happiest with, you know, in terms of the collector market, because these are the guys that were originally Headmasters. So I think these are the ones that collectors are going to go after hardcore real fast. But obviously, you know, these guys that were original Headmasters are probably going to have a little bit more appeal. For Hardhead here, I think his vehicle mode looks great. Everything from the look of this to the way that he transforms to the way that his robot looks. I think that they did a great job of updating that classic look. I do think that the elbow thing here does get a little bit weird, and his arms do look a little bit too long, but that's a minor sort of thing that really doesn't take away from the overall enjoyment of this toy. So if this is a guy that you're interested in picking up, he is slowly starting to trickle out to various retail locations. Or as always, there's Big Bad Toy Store. So all you have to do is click on the link down in the video description. You'll go to BBTS where you can check out availability on this guy, as well as the rest of the new Transformers Titans Return figures. But beyond that, guys, that's about it. So once again, I want to thank you for tuning in. This has been Optibotimus. Don't forget that if you like this video, to please like and share it. Also, be sure to subscribe in case you haven't already subscribed. That way you never miss a future review of mine. And as always, until next time, I'll talk to you later.